Welcome back to the news, everyone. I've got an amazing show for you today. We do, of course, have the spicy topics. The Overwatch team has directly responded to some of their launch woes, specifically that very juicy number on Steam. Roblox getting sued. League of Legends getting in big trouble for a bit of the gacha. Xbox Store going down. And in our good news for today, an indie game that's currently got a 98 on Steam that you should know about. I'll start us off, though, with Overwatch. So, game director Aaron Keller has responded to the entire launch of Invasion. He said that the Larry feedback is solid so far, that she's not overpowered, won't need too much tweaking for rank play, and they're happy with their design goals. That is something I'm very happy about. Thumbs up, new hero, looks really cool, absolutely up my alley personally. Flashpoint then, the new PvP mode. It's not been talked about enough. They are not seeing enough conversation because it's the least focused on element in the game, so they basically are asking people, hey, let us know more about Flashpoint. It's an obvious situation where the Steam reviews, etc., those are very much the main story. I think the people who are playing Overwatch 2, though, they're just keeping their heads down and are a bit more quiet about it. Okay, Invasion then. Basically, Keller said that he enjoyed seeing the legendary runs of Invasion because they're brutally hard. And that's proven in the stats because only 1.6 of attempts successfully completed Gothenburg and Legendary, and 0.7% were successful on Toronto. That does mean that they've created a damn hard game. So that's pretty cool. That being said, he did have to acknowledge those Steam reviews. So he does frame it as review bombing initially, but says that ultimately he's just happy to see that there are new people playing the game for the first time. And it's not like he just sort of gets rid of this and waves it away, he does actually engage with. So he says, many of the reviews on Steam mention the cancellation of the much larger component of PvE announced in 2019 as one of their primary reasons for dissatisfaction. I get that. That is a good thing to hear. That announcement was about an ambitious project that we ultimately couldn't deliver. If we can't turn back the clock, then what can we do? We keep adding and improving Overwatch 2. That's how we move forward. And very much this is also what I think with the likes of Halo Infinite. It's like, yeah, you cannot undo the clock. The best thing the Overwatch 2 team can do is make Overwatch 2 good. The thing, though, where I think a lot of the community's got to step in is to say, okay, and that's going to mean that you do your store differently, that you do your battle passes differently, that you start doing other things, because evidently putting more content into a product, the format of which is not actually working for a lot of people, that's just not working, right? It's like you're putting a lot of effort in, but is that effort being applied in the best place that it can be? Here's a really good example, that mythic Tracer skin from the Season 5 Battle Pass. I actually think it looks pretty good. Of course, Season 5 is over. Now, in a world where I could, Halo Infinite style, swap back to my Season 5 Battle Pass and unlock it after the fact, that would be plenty of progression. And very much unlike Overwatch 1, what people are finding is a lack of progression because the battle passes aren't working that well for them. So if you, as an example, do Halo Infinite style battle passes, put enough premium currency on the battle pass to buy the next battle pass, you can start doing a lot of things that will actually make people feel like they can progress in the game. But they're seemingly not willing to do that. And I think that is the reason why people are focusing on all of these negatives, because currently the game is not really giving them enough reason to talk about the other things, because I think the structure of the product is underutilizing the game that the developers have created. And that ultimately is the big issue that they're running into with Overwatch 2. So ultimately then, yep, he's acknowledged the situation and said, look, the best that we can do is just keep on making more game. I totally agree with him, but they need to make the sorts of announcements that will cause news waves, and that means changing how the battle pass is delivered and things like that, so they can actually get a positive story. Most people think Overwatch is a pretty damn good game. It's everything else around it. That is the narrative they have to change. Next then, and unfortunately sticking to monetization, we've got a story coming out of League of Legends. Yeah, gacha skins. This was captured by Games Radar, and basically it is taking a new leap in monetization. So League players are of course very willing to spend money on skins, providing they think the skins are worth it. And in League of Legends, the best skins out there, they do a lot, right? They're like a full retheme of a character, even going as far as to retheme like the character's abilities and things like that. It's all very impressive. However, it brings me to the next patch and the $200 recolor of Dark Cosmic Djinn. This is crazy. Now, this is a chroma, which means it is just a recolor. There are no further changes. This isn't a great thing, but I suppose sometimes it's just what happens, right? They throw another another option in to brighten up the palette, give somebody, you know, a bit of a different option, whatever. The problem, however, is you can't buy it directly. Yeah, so here's what it actually looks like, the whole situation, right? The capsule milestone opening rewards. And you may think, Michael, what is a capsule? Well, I think you can assume what a capsule is. It's something you buy and you open it. And who knows what you're going to get? Yeah, so this has been data mined, and you'll be able to get the skin from any capsule. But if you don't have it by your 30th pull, the bad luck protection will kick in and you will get it. That does mean that it costs about $200 of in-game currency to get those 30 pulls. And that means that, yes, it is a gacha system. Because the thing about gacha games, right, it's not just dealing with all the randomness to try to get the 5-star character. One of the core things in the gacha genre is whenever bad luck protection kicks in. As an example, it's ridiculous in Diablo Immortal, but we at the time brought up a big old table full of other gacha games where your bad luck protection is kicking in at, you know, the $200 to $300 amount. So basically, League of Legends, it hasn't had gacha-like elements. Now it does. People are obviously quite disgusted by that. They basically feel that this is Riot testing the waters. Like, what can they do in the future? If they get away with this, then perhaps they'll do more. Now, that is a slippery slope argument. People would often say it's a slippery slope fallacy. However, while that can be the case sometimes, I think in games, the industry has continually proved that if there is a slippery slope that has a whole bunch of money at the bottom, the industry will slide down that slope very happily. So yes, I think this backlash is warranted, and ultimately, I hope they get the message that this is not something that people want. I mean, when you actually look across Riot Games, like, boy, howdy, they know how to charge, especially, like, looking at gun skins in Valorant, that stuff is absolutely eye-watering crazy. It makes some, it makes some Blizzard microtransactions look reasonable with how expensive they are. So, it just goes to show, with Riot, yeah, they're going to do what they can to get those beans. So that's pretty rough, and unfortunately I do have to get to another rough story, which is about Roblox being sued for the old, I don't want to trigger any algorithm, so I'm just going to call it Gamba. Is what they called it on, actually, screw it, I'll just call it gambling. Yes, Roblox is being sued for gambling in kids, which is not exactly a nice combination of things. So ordinarily, whenever we get a story of parents complaining that they didn't know their child was spending a bunch of in-game currency, it's a bit of a rallying call for just having better parental awareness of the controls that they actually have within games, right? But then the question is, what happens when the spending is going on outside of the video game, but is connected to those video game systems? So this was spotted by Bloomberg Law, and it's Roblox being served with a class action lawsuit in the state of California alleging that the company is violating the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, which is, yes, RICO. And I suppose there's a reason that, people are like, oh, RICO, that's crazy shit, because that is actually serious legislation. The claim here is that Roblox is acting as an illegal gambling ring that's preying on kids, which certainly is quite a spicy thing to be, alleged to be doing. Now, this is basically because of the complainant's children having lost money in the form of Robux on third-party gambling sites. And the allegation is that Roblox has got the ability to actually track individual Robux wallets, and therefore that Roblox should be able to identify when this stuff is being, connected to a third-party website. And then, of course, that the Robux that they're exchanged on those sites, that the eventual Robux owner is able to convert that in-game currency into real currency, but only after Roblox takes a cut. And as such, then, they actually are profiting from these websites. They've not shut them down, and because of that, can be subject to RICO proceedings, which is hardcore. I remember there was some RICO stuff going on with, I think it was Bungie and whoever they were doing their lawsuit against, and I looked at a bunch of the comments and the videos, and it's just people in America going, oh, damn, they went for RICO, that's serious. So yeah, RICO, serious stuff. Now, this is, of course, not the first time that Roblox has been, encountering some problems because of their game being massive and being played by a far younger demographic. We've got content moderation concerns where users are not being, protected. We've got the way in which Roblox, you could say, exploits younger developers into making games for essentially no money. This was spotlighted by the fantastic People Make Games, who made a great video on it. And then they responded to those criticisms by asking journalists to delete their work. So that was a pretty classy response. From their perspective, though, they offered this to Bloomberg Law. These are third-party sites that have no legal affiliation to Roblox whatsoever. Bad actors make illegal use of their intellectual property and branding to operate such sites in violations of their standards. However, as the lawsuit is arguing, Roblox are aware of those sites, and they're definitely aware now that this lawsuit has been filed. They've not really clearly acted to challenge them for using the Roblox IP or, breaching their terms of service. So it's like, all right, okay, you're saying this, but why aren't you going to do anything about it? This should be done quickly because I think there are these big gray areas. Again, we think about the rough situations that happen with, say, CSGO skin gambling, right? When that was hitting a lot of people who are, 12, 13, 14, right? Definitely younger, that wiping out bank accounts. That this is something people can be drip fed onto, even younger in Roblox, is really, really, really grim. Speaking of grim, don't worry, there's a happy story at the end. The Xbox 360 store is in fact shutting down. It'll shut down July 29th, 2024, meaning the games and DLC will no longer be able to be purchased, and the Microsoft Movies and TV app will no longer function on the 360, so video purchased through that will be unable to be played. That being said, already owned games will remain playable and re-downloadable. Multiplayer games will still be playable if the publisher has got servers up. Cross-save will work to the Xbox One and Series consoles, and these games still will be able to be purchased if they come under the backwards compatibility of a later console, like, of course, the Series consoles that have got pretty good backwards compatibility. That does lessen the blow somewhat, and Microsoft have been making a fairly big deal of, how their backwards compatibilities allowed games to live much longer. A great example right now is the humongous resurgence in legacy Call of Duty sales that happened on the Microsoft platform that, just led to a surge of players, right? I think it happened because, the servers were turned back on or bug was fixed, whatever. That was really cool to see. I have another good example personally where I've been slowly playing some Oblivion again, and I get to play Oblivion at a full, nice frame rate, good resolution, looks great, feels great. It's a fantastic backwards compatibility. It's one of the things that I really do like about Microsoft. So that's been good on the Series consoles. However, there is actually a bit of bad news that a lot of people, even myself before today's video, didn't actually know. In 2021, Microsoft ended their backward compatibility efforts, claiming that licensing, legal, and technical constraints meant that they could not add any further games. And that means that, as is cataloged by Video Games Chronicle, that 220 digital-only Xbox 360 games will be vanishing from any kind of access from a total library of around 500. So half of them are just going to go away. With, of course, even more having their original versions disappear, where only improved or remastered versions exist on the more up-to-date consoles, and several Kinect games will be entirely lost. And in particular, this does hit one thing that a lot of people are super nostalgic for, and that is Xbox Live Arcade. Yeah. So there you go. Basically, this does mean that a sizable chunk of gaming history is going to vanish, and I suppose the only thing that people can do is just buy that shit, download that shit, or maybe some people will raise a flag that is the color black, if you know what I mean. Finally, though, I do want to leave you on a high note, and this absolutely is a high note. This is the game Bomb Rush Cyberfunk. We covered it in our, of course, we do at the start of every month a roundup of games that we find to be exciting, and yes, one of them is this. It's a spiritual successor to Jet Set Radio. It actually has got Jet Set Radio's composer involved as well. And it was a bit weird because at launch it had a very minimal amount of critical reviews, but it actually got, on Steam, a lot of players interested because it has a 98% positivity rate out of nearly 3,000 reviews on Steam. And that basically means it seems to be exactly what people wanted. So look, if you've been waiting for something new that feels like Jet Set Radio, a classic game that many of us played when we were younger and loved, yeah, you can check out Bomb Rush Cyberfunk. It's on Steam, 98%, people are absolutely loving it, and hey, while you're there, if you want to check out The Pale Beyond, the game that we made, it is of course also on Steam, and at store.bellular.games, you can pick up our art book, our deluxe vinyl release, as well as some other goodies. So there you go, it's certainly nice to see there's a Jet Set Radio spiritual successor here, but there is a rumored Jet Set Radio follow-up that fits in with Sega's Super Game Initiative, which then maybe means, in addition to this, there might be some more Jet Set Radio in the future. That would be pretty damn sick. Alright, that's it for me. Of course, if you want some daily gaming news goodness, then subscribe to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to Matt for covering while I was away on holidays as well. With that said, I'll see you guys next time.